it's a whole new world being a psychotherapist during this age of social distancing and doing much of our work over the phone or Zoom or some other video application. And I've been doing supervision and talking to colleagues about this as well as reflecting on my own experience. And one of the things that's two things come to mind that are, I think, useful to address. One is it can be really exhausting to spend the whole day staring at a computer and talking to people that way. What I've experienced and my colleagues' experience is that in many ways we feel as though we're being more observed more carefully to be observed through video than we would feel if we were face to face in the office. Face to face in the office, it's relaxed, we're sitting there, but we're on camera when we're with our clients through these virtual media, and it becomes much more tiring. It also raises the question of how do you develop therapeutic presence through this kind of media? You know, is it by always staring at the client, or is it by in some way trying to make it be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more laid back in a way? And I think it's quite useful to talk with your colleagues about how they're managing it, and particularly not to feel that there's something wrong with you or that you're doing it wrong because you're finding it difficult to attend in this way. The other thing, which is interesting, is what it's like to work by phone, because there are many clients who are actually more comfortable doing this by telephone. It strikes me that it's a little bit like the old psychoanalytic days where the setup was that a person would be lying on the couch and Freud would be sitting behind them. And there was a way in which that made it easier for the therapist and in some ways made it freer for the client or the patient in those days to speak freely about what was on their mind. Because I've observed this. I've observed a number of clients who much rather do it on the phone than do video, as well as clients who are much more, they're freer to talk about things that they would have more shame about or more reluctance to discuss because they're not being seen. It's freer. They're freer to just explore the contents of their mind. So that becomes interesting also when talking to clients about the option to try to ascertain what might make them favor one or the other options and weave that into the therapeutic decision making. So we're in a brave world, a brave new world here. There's so many new things to learn, but it's useful to talk to our colleagues and our clients about what the experience is, because we're all learning about it here.
I've been also talking with colleagues in the last few weeks about doing teletherapy and the difference from doing in-person therapy in the office. And there's a couple things that have come out in these conversations. The first is in terms of dealing with the fatigue factor that therapists often feel in the opening weeks of doing teletherapy. That does reduce over time. But some of the things that we can do to reduce it, one is when we're in our office, we're not constantly just staring at our client's face. We may be looking over their head, looking out a window. We might be glancing at something that we're working on a whiteboard or something like that. And so allowing our gaze to change is one thing that can make a difference. But another thing, just practical thing that can make a huge difference is wearing earbuds or some sort of device that allows us to hear more easily, and a microphone so that the clients can hear us more easily. Because it turns out that one of the big fatiguing factors in online conferences is poor sound and poor audio quality. So things we can do to improve that can make a really profound difference in our fatigue levels. The other thing is, I think it's important not just to talk to colleagues about how to make teletherapy go better. It's also really important to collaborate and talk with our clients about it. And one of the big differences is we're kind of a bigger talking head than we typically would be in the office, where there might be 6 or so feet between us when we're doing in-person therapy. And so one of the things that I think is really important is to ask our clients, how would you like to, how close should we be to the screen? Would you feel better if I'm backed up further, or would you feel better if I'm up closer? And also to not constantly be doing eyeball to eyeball work. I've done a lot of thinking over the years and talking to my clients about the difference between eyeball to eyeball conversations and what I call shoulder to shoulder work, where we're working on a piece of paper together. And so one of the things that I find really helpful in health as well as in-person work is not always to be expecting to be looking at each other, because that's very unsettling for a lot of clients who have intimacy issues, clients who are quite anxious or feel shame or guilt. To have someone looking at them actually makes them feel quite under the spotlight. So it can be really helpful to break things up in session and say, let's both get out a piece of paper right now and let's make a list of some of the things we've been talking about, and actually avert your eyes from the screen and write things out, have the client write things out. Of course, in CBT therapy, many therapists use the Mind Over Mood client workbook that Dennis Greenberger and I wrote, and we've made it possible for therapists to either email or send the PDF copies of these worksheets to their clients, so that you could actually get out a worksheet. It doesn't have to be from that book, any worksheet that you commonly use with clients. If you're both periodically writing and then talking to each other about what you've written, you're then not doing all eyeball to eyeball work. And I think it's relieving to clients as well as to therapists to be working together with purpose on something that doesn't involve just looking at each other constantly.